Journal entry number 8. Eat that frog. There is someone I keep meeting every morning. It's always the same creature. Quiet, patient, waiting exactly where I left it yesterday. My frog. I've become surprisingly good at walking around it. I answer emails, I organize my notes, read another chapter, watch another tutorial, tidy my desk, convince myself that I'm getting ready. Then somehow, another day disappears, and the frog is still sitting there, looking at me. I don't think it's laziness. At least, I hope it isn't, because I work. Sometimes from morning until late at night. There are meetings, messages, small problems to solve, little victories to celebrate. By the end of the day, I'm genuinely tired. But sometimes, I'm tired without having touched the one thing that mattered most. That is a different kind of exhaustion. Not the tiredness that comes from effort, the tiredness that comes from knowing. Knowing I spent another day busy while avoiding the work that might actually change my life. I've noticed something curious. The frog is never replying to an email. It isn't paying a bill. It isn't updating software. The frog is always connected to the future I say I want. Writing the next chapter, recording the next video, building the business, learning the difficult skill, beginning the project that could become something meaningful. Those are always the frogs. And perhaps that isn't an accident. Why do we avoid the things that matter most? Maybe because they matter. The small tasks are safe. If I answer an email badly, the world keeps turning. If I organize another folder, nothing important is at risk. But when I write, people might read it. When I create, people might judge it. When I build something ambitious, it might fail. Or perhaps even more frightening, it might succeed. Sometimes the frog is carrying more than work. Sometimes it carries expectation, hope, identity, the possibility of discovering whether we're truly capable of the life we've imagined. There is a strange comfort in preparation. Preparing feels responsible. Research feels productive. Planning feels wise. Learning another technique feels sensible. And all of those things have their place. But preparation has a dangerous cousin: delay. The two can look almost identical from the outside. One moves us closer, the other quietly keeps us where we are. I've realized something uncomfortable. The frog doesn't stay on my desk. It follows me. It sits beside me during dinner, appears while I'm brushing my teeth, waits quietly when I climb into bed. It doesn't shout, it doesn't accuse, it simply reminds me I'm still here. Perhaps unfinished work charges rent inside the mind, not because the task itself is difficult, but because some part of us knows we are avoiding it. There is another thing I've noticed. The hardest part is almost never doing the work. The hardest part is beginning. 10 minutes after I finally start, the monster often becomes an ordinary task. Half an hour later, I sometimes wonder why I spent the whole day fearing something so manageable. The frog was enormous in my imagination. It became surprisingly small once I took the first bite. Tracy made the phrase, "eat that frog," famous. The idea is beautifully simple. Do the hardest, most important task first. Not because it is pleasant, but because everything that follows becomes lighter. Perhaps the frog was never about frogs. Perhaps it has always been about freedom. Freedom from carrying the same unfinished burden through another day. Freedom from negotiating with ourselves every hour. Freedom from hearing that quiet voice whisper, "You still haven't done it." I don't think one journal entry cures procrastination. I don't think tomorrow I'll suddenly wake up fearless. The frog will probably still be waiting, patient as ever. But perhaps I can meet it differently. Not with another excuse, not with another promise that I'll start after lunch. Just one decision, one small beginning, one bite, then another. Maybe that's all progress has ever asked of us. Not to swallow the whole frog in a single moment, only to stop walking around it. Tomorrow morning, I'll probably meet the frog again. Maybe you will too. If we do, perhaps we don't need to defeat it all at once. Perhaps we only need the courage to take the first bite before the rest of the world begins asking for our attention. Because frogs rarely disappear while we think about them. They disappear, one bite at a time. That's today's entry. I'd love to hear what your frog looks like. What important work keeps quietly waiting for you? Until the next page, stay curious.